and just not receiving the support that I should be getting and that I need. I'm quickly learning that that is not the case, or certainly not for me. When I was first told that I had this condition, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anyone who'd got ME. I was just blissfully unaware.
Hi lovely, I'm Danny and I'm excited to share my journey with you. In February 2024, I was diagnosed with Myalgic Encephalitis, ME, sometimes known as chronic fatigue syndrome or CFS. This condition has profoundly changed my life, affecting everything from my energy levels, my immune system and cognitive function. I want to take you along with me as I navigate this new reality. Together we'll explore what a typical day looks like for someone with ME, the challenges that I face, and the small wins that bring me joy. My hope is to raise awareness for this misunderstood condition and to create a supportive community where we can share our experiences and learn from one another. Welcome to Monday. I had a better sleep last night. I'd say about a 3 or 4 out of 5. My energy is about 4 spoonfuls. My symptoms are pretty much the same, particularly the pain in my limbs. But I've managed to go out and have a coffee. Unfortunately, I forgot to make a note of the meals that I had today. Today, I attended a women's drumming circle for the autumn equinox. I'm really lucky that there's a community hub on my estate where they put on activities like this. I found it a very mindful experience, and it was empowering producing music or noise with like-minded women. I'm grateful for the women that shared this experience and the energy they brought. I really do think holistic medicine and activities bridge the gap created by the lack of conventional medicine to treat ME. There is no cure or treatment for ME, just management of symptoms. Mindful practices like this help me with that.
Good morning, it is Wednesday morning. I had a really rubbish sleep last night. I would rate my sleep probably a 1 out of 5 today. So it was really difficult to just even get my head off the pillow this morning. I had to do the school run. So I would say this morning I woke up probably with about 1 or 2 spoonfuls out of 10 energy wise, and I've had to use one of those spoonfuls doing the school run. When I was first told that I had this condition, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anyone who'd got ME. I was just blissfully unaware of what ME is, and if anything, I probably thought it was a bit like narcolepsy, like falling asleep all the time. I'm quickly learning that that is not the case, or certainly not for me. In terms of my symptoms, I really struggle to sleep, and that is part of what drains my energy as well. If anything, it's the opposite. I really struggle to sleep, and then I wake in the night. A lot of that is attributed to stress in work. At the minute, I'm having a lot of stressful situations going on, and just not receiving the support that I should be getting and that I need.
So why am I even doing this? Well, the thing is, my energy levels have been so low that whenever I've been going to the ME clinic and they've needed me to fill out a diary of my activities throughout the day, what I've eaten, when I've eaten, it's just felt like too much of a massive hurdle to overcome. Even the energy to pick up a pen and put it to paper
to fill out a diary. So I decided to do a video diary so that I could share that with my OT and anybody else within the health sector that needed to see what I was doing. So this is really massively personal to me, but I'm also hopeful that it'll help others who are going through the same thing.
Hi, it's Thursday today. In terms of compared to the rest of the week, I'd say that today is a better day for me. I woke up probably feeling like, in terms of sleep, I'd had about a 3 out of 5, so certainly better than the last few days that I'd had. For energy, I would say this morning felt like 4 spoonfuls out of a possible 10. Again, probably related to the better sleep, but I've not felt like I've had that much energy for probably getting on about 8 weeks now. After the school run, I had a rest, so as a result of that, I had a late breakfast. I had a pre-packaged pot of yogurt and granola. They've been great in terms of having in the fridge, so then I've not had to prepare any breakfast. I could just eat that, making sure that I'm keeping my energy up with what I'm eating. For lunch, I had, again, a pre-packaged sandwich, but it was like a smoked salmon bagel. I'm really trying to eat kind of like brain food, which I don't have to prepare myself. Today I had an appointment at the ME clinic. I have regular appointments there it's usually about every 2 weeks. I spoke to my senior occupational therapist, OT. I'd been explaining how I felt a little bit dejected in that since the weekend I've been really trying to get as much rest in as I can, in terms of both physical rest and lying down, but also resting my mind, so doing a few mindful activities like mindful techniques throughout the week, but then still feeling rubbish. We talked about work stresses at the moment. It's hard for me to explain without going into it, but I don't feel like now's the right time to talk about all the issues I've got around work at the moment. I am signed off sick, but there's a few things, a few sort of procedures that I'm going through at the moment in terms of work, and that's causing me a lot of stress. I do hope to talk about that in future videos. So I discussed that with the OT. She was saying that the reason I've felt such little energy this week will be that stress and that constant wearing of my mind with regards to these work matters that's causing me that physical draining. The appointment should have been an hour long, but I asked my OT if we could cut it back to half an hour because I just didn't feel like I got the bandwidth in my mind. For appointments, it's really difficult because they're so important to me in terms of getting the right therapy and progressing with this condition, but also they're so draining because of having to sort of explain myself, but also processing information. It really drains my energy, so I asked to cut this one down to 30 minutes, which is a positive that I'm learning to sort of say no and advocate for myself a bit better. And that was absolutely fine. My OT totally understood that. And we talked about strategies around the paperwork that I have to submit for work and condensing that down to specific slots throughout the day. So allocating myself maybe an hour's slot to do the paperwork that's required, and then finishing, with that hour, not trying to push on and do any more, and then perhaps maybe having a rest and
perhaps resting the next day, and then the following day allocating myself another hour's slot to try and get through that paperwork. So that's helpful going forward to have that strategy in place. Another strategy that I've decided to sort of do for myself is to not have any access to my mobile phone after 8 p.m. because I don't want that screen light affecting my sleep. But also, I don't want to have the issue that I had earlier in the week where I was just checking my general emails and then saw a work-related email and then having that at the front of my mind before I go to sleep. So I'm going to give myself a mobile phone curfew from 8 p.m. Hello, it's Friday morning. I've just come out of a therapy session, so apologies if the sound quality is not very good on this section of the video. I forgot to bring my microphone with me, and I'm also near a busy road, so apologies if there's any background noise. I'm feeling quite vulnerable and anxious at the moment just because of a few difficult topics we touched on during the therapy session, but I'm also feeling really positive because my therapist talked about a few different pathways we can take in terms of dealing with some trauma. So I'm feeling quite positive about that going forward. As a result of the therapy session being after the school run, I've had to have breakfast on the go, so I had a Danish and a coffee. I woke up feeling like my sleep was maybe like a 3 out of 5 last night, and I also feel like I've had maybe 4 spoonfuls of energy out of a possible 10 today, which isn't too terrible for me. I've been a lot worse than that recently. Welcome to Saturday. I would rate my sleep probably about a 3 out of 5. Probably feeling around 3 or maybe 4 spoonfuls of energy. My symptoms have been really consistent all week, so sore throat, generally feeling run down, runny nose, mouth ulcers, and I had been getting a little tingling in this corner of my mouth as if I was going to get a a cold sore, but that is eased off today, so I think I've avoided that one. I've had pain in my limbs, particularly my arms, my legs, a little bit of pain in my back, and obviously the cognitive side of things as well, so forgetting things completely, struggling to search for words, and struggling to concentrate as well. This period of illness within ME is known as a Post Exertional Malaise, or PME, and it's triggered by a stressor. So that can be a physical stressor, physically exerting yourself, and that could be the smallest of things, that anybody else would take for granted, or a mental or emotional stressor. This period that I'm going through at the moment has been pretty consistent and pretty prolonged as well. It's been going on for a number of months now. For breakfast, I had yogurt and granola. My husband took the kids out at lunchtime, so I skipped lunch to get some rest, and then managed to have a potato cake in the afternoon. And for tea, my husband cooked us chicken breasts with rosti and cabbage. It's Sunday. I have had a horrendous sleep. I woke up at 2 a.m. and just couldn't get back to sleep. It's the stress of what's going on at work that's just going over and over in my mind, and I just couldn't get back
to sleep, so I would rate my sleep a 1 out of 5. My symptoms today have been very much similar to what they have been all week. So pain in my limbs, obviously the fatigue, cognitive side of things, not being able to think about anything really, sore throat, feeling as if I'm coming down with something, just generally unwell and not able to do a great deal. I'd say today I've probably felt like 2 spoonfuls of energy, but I did manage to get the kids out and go for a walk to the coffee van today, so it was good to get some air. It's also been weekend reset for us as a family, so I'm sure a lot of families are like this, where you're catching up with general housework, chores from throughout the week. We had 4 loads of washing. My husband did the majority of that, but I did manage to help him out, hanging up some of the kids' uniform. So our washing consisted of 3 loads of kids' uniform. We do at least 1 on a Friday, then usually the rest on Saturday, not Sunday, just so the kids have the full week's uniform ready for the Monday morning. Plus we had a towels load and a darks load. So this is the system that I use. We've got 3 separate boxes for the kids washing, so coloureds, whites and reds. The kids have their socks and underwear at the bottom that they can help themselves to in the morning, and then I have this rack system where I set up the full week's worth of uniform for the kids. My daughter's on the right and my son's on the left. I find that by having this system in place where they can access their own uniform, it just helps develop that little bit of independence for them. So as I say, they can just reach up on the uniform, grab the day's worth of clothes, take it down and then get dressed. My son does need a little bit more help with that still. I've had to be mindful here as well not to include anything with school logos and things on for obvious reasons. So then they know what day's worth of clothes is there and they can just take it off the rack and dress themselves. Tell me in the comments below, what do you do? Do you do similar to us and have a weekend reset, or do you tend to break it up through the week? I suppose ours is mostly at the weekend because I like to have the children's school uniform all completed before obviously Monday morning, but we also dedicate a couple of the days of the week for doing other things like washing the bedding and things. For breakfast, I've had rice crackers, then I had a Danish and a coffee at the coffee van. For lunch, we had hot dogs and then had a family film session, so we had popcorn with that. And then for tea, my husband's making us meatballs and pasta again. And then as soon as the kids have gone to bed, I'll be going to bed too. I've thought really hard about whether to include this bit or not, but if we're building a supportive community like I'm hoping we will, I think it's important to include the good and the bad. So I've just had a neighbour knock on at my door. There's an area of land opposite my house with a few trees and things, but we've started getting some antisocial behaviour there recently. Like kids initially started just playing in there, but now they're doing things like smashing up pots that my neighbours have put out there to make the area look pretty, and smashing up bits of wood, things like that. Myself and a few neighbours are trying to discourage that from happening because obviously nobody wants that on their doorstep.
So I've seen 2 boys in there just now, and I've asked them what they were doing, and I asked them, could they please not play there and to go and play at the park. We're really lucky where we live because it's a new build estate and there's a play area there with play equipment, but also there's land around it. So even if you don't want to go on the swings, you can play football, you can, you know, make up your own games. There's areas to play in our estate. So we're really, really fortunate because obviously a lot of people don't have that. The boys were polite and they said they would. They got out of that area opposite mine and even said sorry and walked off. But now the mum's come on the bounce round to my house, knocked on the door and started shouting at me that I've scared these 2 boys. I've really, really, really worked hard to stay calm and not to fall into an argument with her. Ultimately, I just said to her that she was getting very heated and I wasn't going to get involved in that. So I shut the door and I've come back inside. It took so much restraint on my side not to get involved and escalate it to the level that she was doing and just to walk away. And with my condition, the amount of effort that you put into anything is just 100-fold to somebody else that doesn't have any. And also the stress of that, thinking now that there's a potential neighbour conflict, and you just start thinking things like, what if something happens to my car now? Like, she was really irrational. You know, is something going to happen in the future? That kind of stress really triggers me. And so I came away from that situation just feeling like I needed to lie down. So why am I telling you this? Well, I suppose my call to arms would be, let's all just be a little bit nicer to each other. Let's all just be a little bit kinder to each other. You don't know what your neighbours are going through, you know, and particularly with these kind of invisible illnesses, you can't look at a person and think, oh, she's this type of person, or she's, you know, not got any problems going on, and just rant and rave at somebody. You don't know what's going on for that individual. So let's please all just be a little bit kinder to one another. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Your support means so much to me and countless others that go unseen. If you resonate with this story or want to learn more, please consider following along. You can show support by liking this video, hitting the bell notification, and subscribing. New videos will land every Tuesday at 8 PM. Let's foster understanding together.